just got here and it's already pouring. It's been like 3 weeks of hell, just humid, hot, dry, no rain, and immediately show up to the track and it's pouring. Don't even have a chance to like unload everything and it's already, everything is soaking wet. So, yep, great start to the weekend. But hey, at least it's only an hour drive from my house to the track. So it's always so nice going to Mid-Ohio because it's so close. But anyway, we're gonna wait for this to blow over and then set up the rest of the paddock. Here it comes again. So if you're curious what this is Aaron Lichty's new race car. It's technically GLGT, but with a few minor changes, you can run it in GLTC as well. But it's a badass build, Paragon Performance, winning formula. There's my boy Aaron Lichty. So he had the Cayman last year, so this thing is gonna be absolutely bonkers in GLGT. So, but anyway, yeah. It's still raining, and I just heard that they're canceling the test day. So that's awesome. 250 bucks. Hopefully I get my freaking money back, because that's BS. So just really pissed off already. And now they canceled the event. Like, I'm pretty sure the rain was gonna stop. It was supposed to go until like 8:30. It's 5:30 now, so there's 3 hours left of the day that we can still probably get out there. So whatever, can't even test the setup out now, so I'm gonna have to basically go in tomorrow. I got one practice session tomorrow and one qualifying. So that's awesome, but yeah, the pretty shitty day one here at Mid-Ohio. Probably gonna close up, put the windows in the car, and then I guess head home. And I guess one good thing is I have hockey tonight, so that'll be fun. Burn off some steam. But anyway, yeah, I'll catch you guys, I guess, tomorrow. Good morning from the track. Last night was kind of a bust, no practice sessions, which sucks because we made so many changes and I definitely needed the track time to kind of iron them all out. But we'll figure it out today. But yeah, besides having no practice, we did have hockey last night, which was pretty sick. Scored 4 goals and an assist, so that's pretty awesome. And I also got surprised with some sick parts this morning. So I already got the car kind of mostly disassembled for these things right here. Flanges for the throttle body. Now, what exactly are they? They are basically throttle body vibration isolators. So this flange is gonna go here, and then this flange, like this, and then that flange goes right there. You clamp them together, and then you have a sliver of space between the two flanges, and that basically isolates vibrations to the throttle body. And then it helps these drive-by-wire throttle bodies last a lot longer. Big shout out to Padded Old Boys for machining these beautiful parts. Once again, the dude is awesome. Man, really appreciate him machining these. And yeah, these parts were designed by Hybridracing, and they're actually heavily inspired by the kit that Winning Formula sells. So Winning Formula started making these, I think for Bosch throttle bodies. And they're really good. It's been keeping their throttle bodies alive for way longer. Actually, I don't think they have any failures once you put that on. But since I had the ZDX, I had to get a slightly different setup design. But yeah, they freaking killed it. So this is basically what I was running before, and it's basically just a solid adapter plate. And I would use these kind of Delrin gaskets. And now I'm switching to this setup. So it's gonna put the throttle body in a slightly different position. And now I have to kind of figure out how to make this intake setup work. So we're gonna mess with that this morning. And then we have practice my first and only practice, I think around 10 a.m. Still got to get the car on the dyno, so I'll probably do that after practice, and then I think qualifying is around like 3. So we got a lot of time today. Let's get this setup fitted and then see what I need to do to kind of make this work, if I can even make this work. Mounted to this side, got it mounted to that side. Hey, bud. And then yeah, basically it's gonna sit like that. But yeah, this is sick. The fitment is spot on, and then this will keep our throttle bodies alive forever. Complete. Skunk 2 Ultra Street, Hybridracing / Padded Old Boy / Winning Formula, soft throttle body adapter, ZDX throttle body, 8th gen intake, and then of course I basically shortened up this distance. It worked perfectly. They didn't have to cut anything. So yeah, pretty pumped about this. We got a little bit of play in the throttle body, which is what you want, because it's going to isolate this from vibrations. It's going to keep the motor alive, because the fastest way these throttle bodies die is from the vibration of the K24s. So this mod, extremely important for reliability. And yeah, it looks sick, fits perfectly. All that's left now is to get it on the dyno. I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that before or after practice. Maybe if there's some time this morning, I might do it. And then, yeah, go practice. First pull, one more, not bad. Told you. Little update after the dyno. We were suffering from success. It made too much power. The first pull made 220, which is kind of what I expected. And then once things started to warm up, the car kept making power. After the first pull, I started to, detune with the throttle body. And I was expecting, maybe 85% to 95% detune. Well, after like the 10th pull, I was at 70% throttle and it still made 220. It just kept making 220. Every time I detuned it, it would just make 220, make the same freaking power. I ended up, we're looking at the bottom line here, about 57% throttle body opening, 57% at 7,000, and it basically stays at 57, 58 all the way to red line. It made too much power, and I think partly because the throttle body is so big that when you open it just a little bit more, there's still a ton of airflow going into it. So the throttle body is probably not as effective when your throttle body is bigger for the detune. But anyway, yeah, we made about 213 point something. I think that's a good guess. We're gonna run pretty conservative weight-wise just to make sure we don't go over on the dyno. But yeah, that was 12 or 13 pulls on the dyno, which usually I could, crank out those detunes in 3 pulls. But like I say, it just kept making more and more power. Sounds mean, sounds badass. Got everything on the car ready to go for practice. We're at the right power. We got the weight, so we should be good to go. Yeah, I'm excited. I think I'm gonna start this session with the 660s in the front and the 660 plus in the back, just to get Falcons all in all 4 corners. I'm not gonna mess with the Kumos at all. And then for qualifying, we'll probably bump the fronts to the 660 pluses. But I'm feeling good about this weekend, so let's keep up the streak and hopefully finish well, finish strong. I don't even know what to say at this point. It's raining. It's raining. We got about 40 minutes till practice 1. Not even gonna get a dry practice with this new setup. This is absurd. Freaking mid-Ohio, man. Hopefully it stops and dries up, but it is completely black over there, so unlikely. Fit in a cool seat and you just press this button right here? That'd be sick. Here, if you drove mine, but I think this is cool. That is pretty cool. It's cool that you retain all the OEM stuff in it. Yeah, trans temp, oil pressure, oil temp, tire temp, and tire temperature. Kind of cool. Oh, that's pretty sick. I didn't see that. It's like you're getting a massage. The car is just rocking you to bed. Put your aim up here. Yeah. Damn. This is sick. He's got a 3D printed little key holder. Sheesh. Wonder what this does. Just kidding. Yeah, this is cool. I drive this Corvette. You can't really see it on video, but this whole car is shaking. It's just constantly back and forth. This is nuts.
New Balance shoe on display in the bag.
Like frame.
Like, yeah, exactly.
We went out in the wet in practice. Only practice session I'm gonna have this weekend. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to test the Falcons yet, so I actually ran the Continental Extreme Contact Sport 02s in the wet, and they're phenomenal. As you guys know, they were phenomenal at Road Atlanta, and they're phenomenal here. Mid-Ohio is one of the most treacherous rain tracks, I think, in the country. And if you know where to go, you can go real fast, and that's what we did. We went P1 in practice by like over 3 seconds. And to the championship contender, Matan, I was about 7 seconds faster. So, of course, he was testing out some different tire. He wasn't on a Continental, but I was, and the car was really good. And you just gotta drive as wide as you can around this track. And there's just so much grip out there. It's hilarious when you're literally just driving around somebody, taking the long way around a corner, and you have a speed delta of like 10, 15 miles per hour. So, car feels great with the power. I actually dyno tuned it this morning, and I had to pull a lot of power out of it to make the 214. And I made a curve 214 that looked pretty natural to me. And I submitted that to the staff, Grid Life staff, and they said, no, you got a little bit more flat there than a natural power curve, so you gotta take a % penalty for qualifying. 3% penalty to be exact. And I was like, shit, that kind of sucks. I don't really have the weight to add 3% more. And it was kind of not a great 3% flat power penalty torque curve either. So I basically went back on the dyno, and within, I think it was 6 minutes on the dyno, I adjusted the power curve a little bit more. So basically I pulled it down by 6, and then I pulled it back down around red line, like 85. So now the curve, it's more like what a stock K24 would look like. And I resubmitted the form, or resubmitted the dyno sheet, and the Grid Life staff agreed with me as well that looked pretty good. So now I'm back to 0%, natural power curve, 214, actually made like 212 on the dyno, which is perfect. I want to give me a little bit of buffer on the dyno, and then I'll have a buffer with extra weight in the car as well. Nothing else to do besides qualify. Sticker Falcon 660 Plus is on, so we got them on the blue wheels up front, and then we got the aero disc back for the rear. And I'm gonna have to basically just guess on setup. So what I'm thinking is, I have a feeling the 285 stagger, 225 rear is gonna be a lot to handle. So I'm probably gonna add a little bit more wing just in qualifying, just to kind of give me a little bit more confidence in the fast speed corners. I might even soften the rear sway bar just a tad. I don't know what the car is gonna do. I'd rather have the car understeer than be undrivably loose. Undrivably loose, it's sketchy. You know, turn 1 is really fast here, turn 11 is really fast. So I don't want to be chasing the car. So I'm gonna set it up pretty conservatively. A little bit of understeer most likely, but I think it should do just fine. It's got so much front tire that I think it's just gonna drive right through the understeer without any issues. So yeah, gotta get the car ready for qualifying. We got qualifying in about an hour. Weather's looking fantastic. We got rid of the rain, hopefully. Although, if it would rain again, I wouldn't complain, because we literally dominated practice. I'm pretty sure we got the fastest wet lap out of anybody here this morning. 149.7. That's pretty quick. But anyway, yeah, that's an update for today. Qualifying coming up next. First time on the dry setup. I'm excited to see how she does. 35.5 is my best. So let's see if I can get close to that or even exceed it. Oh my God. It's so hot. Whew. I was out there all session because I thought I was way off pace. I had like a, what was it, 36.5? Granted, my personal best here is a 35.5. So I was expecting to be in the 35s, maybe even the 34s. But I guess I forgot that they completely repaved the track. China Beach is completely different. So everybody went slow. And I got P2 somehow. Thousandths of a second away from first place, which was Eric Magnussen. So the front just had no grip. But I think it's mainly because I just set the car up so conservatively. It was so pushy. It was just, I think the conditions were terrible. It was just way too hot. And I kept seeing like 4/10ths going into carousel, and then I would lose it because I just couldn't put the freaking power down. And I was a little disappointed with the 285s. But I guess second place overall, can't complain about that. You guys want to talk about consistency? Check this out. 36.2, 36.2, 36.2, not bad. I think I went a little too conservative on the setup, so we're gonna definitely have to stiffen up the rear sway bar, run a little bit less wing, and I finally have a good baseline for these tires, and I think the setup adjustments for tomorrow will help quite a bit. Yeah, as expected, weather conditions pretty spotty. There's seems to be a big front that's kind of moving across us, but it might just miss us. But honestly, I'm down for the rain, man. Bring it, because practice, absolutely dominating the entire field. I'm ready to do that again. So part of me wants it to rain. The other part of me wants it to stay dry. But I just can't stand it when it's, you know, either or, because then you have to make a decision on tires and it's, you know, mostly down to luck. We'll see what the forecast is. We got the race in about 50 minutes. So even if it does rain, I think it actually might dry up after. But yeah, car's all ready to go. We got it on jack stands just to make sure. If we need to swap tires, we can do it quick. But we got the whole gang here. We got Roy, we got my family, sister, dad, my mom's in the trailer. And yeah, should be a good day.
Let's go, race one.
shifted away first place. That sucks.
I'm happy Emil won.
Dyno.
What's the weight?
Weight is 2872.
Thanks. 2872, good?
Yeah.
All right.
Coming through.
Heads up!
P2, we're on the dyno, my favorite place to not be. Yeah, that was a fantastic race. Once again, in the end, man, like, trying to just tuck up behind Emil and a little bit of misjudgment there. I think he kind of overslowed. You know, Emil's one of my best friends. I'm not trying to bump him out of the way, but yeah, slight misjudgment once again on my end. Like, I gotta stop making those excuses, but I was just trying to protect second and get as close to Emil as I could to not let Baton pass me. A little nervous, first time dynoing after a race with the new setup, but we were about 80 pounds heavy on the scales, which means we have roughly like a 5 horsepower buffer. I think we should be good, no drama here. But yeah, that was a fun race. It was tight up front, and those conditions were pretty sketch. Very slick, so the first few laps was trying to just find out where the grip was, and then we just kept swapping the lead, and then the leader would have to find out where the next spot was. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. Congrats to Emil, one of my best buddies, winning his race. First race in a while, and he killed it, man. That Miata was so fast that it brakes so damn late. But anyway, let's see what we make on the dyno.